Are you familiar with procrastination and perfectionism, wasting time in the name of getting things just right? Maybe you've been stuck in that loop, tweaking, planning, rewriting, reworking, all in the name of excellence. But really, is perfectionism holding the reins? And what about procrastination? That is the sidekick that convinces us to wait until we feel ready. Today, my guest and I are pulling back the curtain on how these two sneaky habits rob us of momentum, growth, and peace of mind. If you're tired of feeling stuck and want to move forward even imperfectly, you are in the right place. So let's jump right into it. Welcome to the Minute Mastery Podcast, a conversational productivity and time management podcast where busy authors and entrepreneurs are inspired to create time for what truly matters. I'm your host, Ngozi Edema. I'm a time management coach, writer, and entrepreneur. Here, you are encouraged to turn your minutes into milestones and to create at least 1 hour a day working on your goals without feeling overwhelmed. Since today's episode is about procrastination and perfectionism, I thought it is the right time to let you know of my upcoming masterclass on procrastination. So if these two, procrastination and perfectionism, are holding you back, you are not alone. For years, I allowed self-doubt and a desire to get everything just right to stall my progress. And I know how frustrating that feels. That is why I have created the Procrastination Breakthrough from Delay to Daily Action. It's a masterclass designed to help you finally break the cycle, overcome fear, and take consistent action toward your goals. In this free masterclass, you will discover Number 1, how to identify what is really holding you back. Number 2, the mindset shifts that make taking action easier. Number 3, practical strategies to create daily momentum without overwhelm. Seats are limited, so don't let another day slip by. Claim your spot and start turning those minutes into milestones. The registration link to this masterclass will be in this episode's show notes. Your next breakthrough starts now. Let's do this together. Today, I am thrilled to introduce a guest who has a wealth of experience working with individuals who struggle with procrastination and perfectionism. She has seen firsthand how these challenges often stem from deeper fears, self-doubts, and the pressure to always get things just right. Over time, she has developed practical strategies to address the root causes of these problems and empower others to find balance in both their work and personal lives. Please welcome Kareen Aristide.
Hello.
Thank you. I hope I got your name correctly.
Aristide is
Okay, sorry, Kareen Aristide. Okay.
okay. I know the "ide" is an issue in English,
Okay, Aristide. Yeah. Okay, so let's start here. In your experience, what's the biggest myth people believe about procrastination and perfectionism?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest myths is that, first of all, they're the only ones going through that. And so a lot of the times people are feeling the shame of it, thinking that, this is something that only they struggle with. But we all struggle with it one way or another. Even those of us who, end up achieving our goals and dreams and aspirations, we all have to be very, very careful about this particular. I guess it's more like I like to say that, for example, when there's flies around, because I've considered these as flies, then it's because there's garbage somewhere,
Yeah.
There's something there that it invites it, right? And so dealing with the source is really what helps us to move out of it.
Thank you. So I'm interested in the source, especially procrastination. I mean, both of them are big issues. This is just a side question.
Yes.
Do you think it taking us to do you think laziness has anything to do with that?
So I think laziness is often confused with rest and pause, and so there are certain things that we engage in. We actually need that pause and that rest before we move forward with it. And so being in touch with yourself and making sure that you're not avoiding something just because you don't want to deal with something, right? So laziness is usually a sign that, you're maybe focusing on the wrong thing, right? And so there's this action. The action of doing something is always fueled by something else, right? And so if there's laziness somewhere, then it's either because, we're confusing it from rest and pause, or we're avoiding something by not engaging in a certain action.
Thank you. I like the illustration you gave about the garbage and the flies. That
Yes.
there's always something that causes another thing.
Yeah.
Usually, when I look at procrastination, I draw these little circles where I put myself in what I call what some people call our comfort zone and
Mm-hmm.
stepping out of our comfort zone.
Yes.
We all like familiarities. We all like familiar surroundings. If something is going to push you out of where you understand into an unknown world that you don't know, it is only natural that we fear.
Yeah.
And so sometimes what people call laziness may not be laziness.
That's right.
It is some underlying issues.
Yeah.
And unless you treat that issues, you deal with those issues, you can't move forward. You'll be stuck in that place, in that comfort zone, because this place, I am settled here. Why should I go and look for something else that I don't know?
Absolutely.
So now that brings us to the other guy, perfectionism. So how do perfectionism and procrastination feed off each other?
Mm-hmm.
And why is this combination so toxic for growth and productivity? Because I'm all about productivity,
Yes.
and I see procrastination and perfectionism as
Mhm.
the two biggest time wasters.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think you raise a good point regarding fear because, yeah, it basically can be the source of either procrastination or perfectionism, right? Because it's really a question of outcome at the end of the day. The fear is not necessarily always about engaging in something, but it's really the outcome of engaging in something that really can make us not move forward. And another piece as well, sometimes it's control. So we are afraid of not being in control of certain things. And so when it comes to perfectionism or procrastination, there's an element that we don't want to let go of. And usually that element has to do with the results. So what I don't I'm not doing it, or I want to do it perfectly so that the result is the one that I want, instead of letting go of the result and just trusting that whatever it is that I do will be what the result will be, what it's meant to be. It might not be what I want it to be, but it's going to be what it's meant to be.
The side question I
Yes.
wanted to find out from you, sometimes when people fear and procrastinate, they start working on projects that doesn't really add value to their life.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes one thing I did, I wanted to go start doing videos during COVID, and then I bought camera. Unless I get some fancy gadgets, I can't start. All is fear. I never got to use these things I bought.
Absolutely. Yes.
So when people are showing traits of perfectionism and procrastination, they start making simple tasks look so complex and say, "Oh, okay, unless I get it like this." Or do you think they are also influenced by what other people are doing?
Absolutely. I mean, most people live life from the outside in instead of inside out, and
Okay.
part of the work that I do is helping people live from the inside out and to be before they do, because that kind of behavior, getting everything right and, buying all these things and all of that is the same thing, for example, for entrepreneurs who buy all these programs, because this and that and the other. But the reality is that the source of this whole thing is because, we're not dealing with being, right? And so we feel like doing is bringing us somewhere or giving us value, or, makes it look like we're actually progressing, but we're not, right? And so there's a difference between movement and progress. So sometimes when we're doing stuff, we're moving, but we're basically doing like circles
Yeah.
in place, right? And so again, that goes back to the fear, but it also goes back to not really like coming to the place of, okay, what do I really want? And how do I want to show up in the world, right? Because sometimes that is radically different from what other people expect of us, or what we see other people succeeding in different things. And we're thinking we have to do the very same things in order to get to that place. But it could be completely different. And sometimes that's scary,
Yeah, it
Different is
is.
scary sometimes.
Thank you. So, can you walk us through a moment in your life or someone you've helped in the past where perfectionism led to some missed opportunities or burnouts?
Yes, absolutely. I've had I have lots of example of that. I'll talk about a recent example where I had a client who had a book, that was in her heart. And the thing is, there was a lot of different opportunities for her to showcase the book, but the book was not written yet. It was not out yet. It was not published yet, right? So part of it was done, but there was this sense that, she needed to perfect it and everything like this. And, you know, at the end of the day, there's so many different ways that if that book was done, she would have had certain opportunities that, would have been for her. And so that's the thing. So now I helped her in order to get that book out. And now there's no way that she'll be missing any of these opportunities because it's done now. But she had to realize that, you know what? I need the structure in order to get it done. So sometimes there's things that we want to get done, but we don't know what we need in order to get it done. And so she realized that it was really the structure that was missing for her to finish it and publish it. And now she's definitely gaining all of those opportunities because of that.
Yeah. Yes, I've been in a situation where you have some ideas, but because you didn't put those ideas into use, 2 years later, someone else has done the same thing
Yeah.
and they're making it, they're succeeding in
That's right.
what you left as an idea.
One of the things that happened was that, there was an acquaintance of mine who basically had a book club, and they were reading a book that is almost exactly the same as my client's book,
Wow.
It's almost exactly the same. So if her book was out, I could have given this to this acquaintance and be like, use this for your book club,
Yeah, dear. How we miss opportunities. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what are some practical ways to recognize when perfectionism is disguising itself as high standards? Yeah, that is me. I want to maintain the highest standards possible. So, what are the practical ways that we can recognize when we are doing this and then get ourselves out of it?
So one thing, I'm going to share a story that is used now for us as prevention,
Yeah.
And my husband, okay, so he's a musician and a producer, and he's very perfectionist when it comes to the music, okay? And
Yeah.
songs and everything has to be right, and the voice and all of that stuff, right? So he bought all the equipment, spent thousands of dollars to set up the studio and all of that. But then there was always other things, that was preventing him from actually releasing the music. And so about, I would say 3 or 4 years ago, so he went to get his eyes checked to get a new prescription for his glasses. The optometrist told him that there's something wrong because your vision is going down too rapidly. Anyway, to make a long story short, he ended up um, s- um, being told that he had a tumor in his brain. So the tumor was benign, but it was basically like sitting on the optic nerve. And that is why his vision was going down so rapidly. So anyway, he ended up, having to be operated to remove this tumor. And he was saying that one of the biggest things that really shocked him was the fact that, if he had died on that operating room, there's so much that he wanted to do that he didn't do. He wouldn't have been able to do because he was dead. So when he came out of that, he released all these songs because he was like, what is that? Like, what is that makes us, like go through tragedy before we actually have a wake up call and really do what we're meant to do. Right. So that procrastination and perfectionism went out the door, really like, sharing all that he had.
Hmm. Thank you. So a lot of creatives and entrepreneurs struggle to start or finish projects. This is very big. So what small shifts or tools do you recommend to help them take action without overthinking it?
Yes. So one of the things that helps is to be intentional about making time for something. So one of the things I love to use is called block scheduling. And so you take your calendar and you choose, the day and time where you're actually going to work on that. And it's kind of like you have to treat it like a doctor's appointment. You have to give it that importance and intentionality because you're wanting to produce something. Even if it's 5 minutes, it's not even about the amount of time, but it's the quality of time that you give it to really make sure that you're intentional about getting to the result that you want to get.
So, do you think people sometimes procrastinate because they do not have an idea on how to proceed with what they want to do?
For sure, for sure. Like I was saying earlier, my client needed that structure. She realized that she needed that structure when, she engaged in that particular program in order to help her do what she needs to do. And so being in touch with who you are and what you need is super, super important because yeah, a lot of the times we don't really engage or continue a project because we don't have a sense of what to do and how to do it. But I believe that the intentionality that you put towards that project is going to help you really move forward with this project because sometimes pausing is not a bad thing,
It's not.
And so it's not about, like, for example, myself right now, I'm writing my second book. And, I realized that if I had published it at the time that I wanted it to, then I wouldn't have the impact that it's going to have because of the fact that I was able to step back and realize that some of the things that I wanted to say was too much. So, to really like narrow it down and make a series out of it instead of trying to dump everything into one book, right? But it's the pause that made me see that.
Thank you. I know years ago, before the coming of, then I was living back home in Nigeria. Years ago, before the coming of GPS and all of that, when you're going to a new place you don't know. I know that I have friends and relatives. I know people are bad, but most people are good too. When they're going somewhere, they don't ask for direction. They just go.
Right.
They eventually find their way, but they waste time looking for finding their way. But I have always been the one that would, if I notice I'm missing my way, I stop and then I ask the next person, do you know so and so? I know sometimes some people give you the wrong direction. But again and again, it's always safer to ask people for directions. But I mean, you need to know the source for your directions because some people are just not good.
They'll steer you the wrong way.
They just show you the wrong way, but that means that you have to ask like several people for directions and then, kind of look at things, or you get a map yourself. And so that you can compare what they tell you with what is on the map.
Yeah.
So Do you encourage people to ask for directions? Because if you
Mm.
just stay, just talk and fear, I'm not going to do anything. Because the good thing about the time we live now, unlike decades ago, you couldn't find information about
Right.
anything. But now we are in a
Information.
season of information. I know there is misinformation as well, but that does not mean there are no good information out there that you can use.
Absolutely.
So do you recommend that people should go out there and get help?
Absolutely. I mean, I, for one, love AI. And, the thing is, like you were saying, right? So there's, you have to be careful of the source, you know what
You
I
have
mean?
to be careful of the
Getting
source.
the
Yeah.
information. But what I like about AI, for example, ChatGPT, is that you can train it, so that you get the right information, right? So it's really about how you prompt it so that you're able to get the right type of information. For example, yesterday, I'm new to the city, so there's a lot of things I don't know. And so I wanted to go to the beach, and there's lots of different beaches, but then some have poor water quality. And so, I use ChatGPT, to basically ask, which are the beaches that have good quality water that I can swim in. And then I asked it to actually do an itinerary for me, from my house
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
exactly everything I needed to do in order to make sure that I had a great day at the beach. And it was great, and sometimes if it would tell me stuff that, okay, I think this is not really correct, then I would ask it again and then, rephrase. And then I got exactly what I needed. And so for sure, humans are great, to ask directions from. But for some of us that maybe want a larger perspective or have like maybe a larger pool of data, then why not use AI to your advantage and have AI give you suggestions so that then you can validate for yourself, right?
Thank you. So I like the aspect of AI. I know some people are still not comfortable with AI, and some have that will be a subject for another day, but some have like it's going to destroy human relationships, but it depends on usage anyway.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about time. How
Mm-hmm.
much time do people unknowingly lose to procrastination and perfectionism? And how can we start reclaiming it from these two time wasters?
Yes. Yeah, I think I don't know if you know the matrix, the Heisenhower matrix.
Yes.
Okay. So I believe that this particular tool is one of the best tools in order to avoid perfectionism and procrastination, because having an understanding of what's important, urgent versus what's not important, what's not urgent is really where, the whole issue is. Because many times it's not really us the problem, but it's also other people that basically come and distract us, from
Yeah.
what we're supposed to do. Right. And so it goes back as well to the intentionality. So if your intentionality is towards that goal that you have, then you need to be very aware, of the time that you have. And that time needs to be your most precious commodity,
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is that we give away our time without really like having an understanding of, is this urgent or is this, important? And sometimes other people's urgencies then become our urgency, and sometimes something that's important to someone else may not be very important to me. Right. And so that being able to discern that is super, super important, especially if whatever it is that you want to accomplish is important to you, but just as important for other people. Because sometimes, every time I work with someone who's been through burnout, um, one of the main problems is this aspect of I'm invincible or I'm indispensable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can't say no, I can't not do that because nobody else is going to do it, or, I'm the only one who can do it. And that's a big thing that I work with clients with, to truly like let go. And that's a control thing again, in that thinking that, they're the only ones who can do something, or that they will be a bother if they ask for help and things like that, or delegate to other people. So that's a big thing. And especially if something that you want to accomplish is important to you, you have to learn to delegate. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn to not feel guilty about taking time for yourself. All of those things will be beneficial to other people at the end, you know what I mean? But it requires that intentionality again. I go back to
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I know for me, I've spent years wasting years and years
Mm,
on projects that I should have done earlier
yeah.
on because I was aiming for unreasonable standards and
Mm,
procrastinated a lot. So we don't want to do that. And I like using those tools like urgent, not important.
yeah,
Yes, if we are not intentional, we cannot move forward. And
that's
it comes with experience, it comes with training,
yeah.
and no one was born with that.
No,
But we can all learn.
we can all learn, and
We can all learn.
yourself is not selfish, a lot
No, no, it's not.
of people
Yeah,
have this false understanding about that,
yeah. We
But
cannot
reality is, just like I'm sure you've heard this analogy before, like when you're in a plane crash, if you got to put your own oxygen mask
max
first
first.
before you help other people. And that's how you have to think about, your projects and your time and things like that, because that's one of the ways that procrastination and perfectionism cannot come and rob you, because everything has its like, we like to talk like that about money. Every dollar has a name, like, so with your time, it has to be that way. Like, your time is so finite. And my husband likes to say, your time is your life. How people say your time is money, but your time is your life, and the only time where you're actually not bothered by any, this, that, and the other is when you're sleeping.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, but that sleep time is important. So
yeah. I don't. Yeah,
you
mess
don't want
around
to
with it.
sacrifice that sleep time
No,
because you help so and so do so and so. You know what I
no,
mean? Like, and then what? Right? You get a pat on the back and say, "Oh, thank you for helping me."
no. It's not worth it.
We-
So if someone is listening and realizes that they've been stuck in the loop for years, what's the very first step they can take right after this episode to help them break free from that?
Well, I would say take action, whatever action is needed, right? So depending on what it is that you're working with, because it's hard to say this, or that. It's really contingent to what it is that you're procrastinating or being perfectionist about, But taking an action is actually going to really like help you get unstuck. You know what I mean? Even if that action is simply to put in your calendar, set time where you're going to do something with this thing. You know what I mean? So again, it's not about the amount of time, it's about the quality. And so this means that you need to shut off everything, shut the phone, what you need to do, that will bring distraction, so that you can give it intentionality, even if it's for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. So if someone listening to this episode wants to connect with you, how can they find you? Where can they find you? And what do they hope to get when they connect with
Yes.
you?
Well, I'm pretty much all the socials. So if you type my name, Kareen Aristide, anywhere, either Google or in your favorite social, you will find me. And so I really am all about talking about being before doing, And so if you're having difficulty truly like finding yourself and choosing yourself and giving yourself priority, then I think you're gonna like what I share. And I also talk a lot about mental health and personal development. So I would love to have you follow me anywhere you already are.
Thank you so much for coming to the show. So we're going to put your links on this episode show notes.
Yes. Thank
So
you for having me, Ngozi.
you're welcome. I don't know about you, but that hits home. So many of us waste precious time trying to make things flawless when really done is better than perfect.
Yes.
If today's chat reminded you of the project you've been sitting on or the idea you've been waiting to start, take this as your sign to go for it. Procrastination and perfectionism don't get to call the shots anymore. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend who needs that nudge too. And if you're ready for some support breaking free from these traps, head over to ngozedema.com and book a clarity call. Let's get you on stock and moving again. If you're ready to take action against procrastination, don't wait. Be sure to register for my upcoming Procrastination Breakthrough Masterclass to get practical strategies to finally move you forward. And don't forget to check out all the links in this episode's show notes. You will find Kareen's social media profiles, helpful tools we discuss, and my clarity call if you want personalized support. Take that first step today. Your time and progress are too important to put on hold. Thanks for tuning in to the Minute Mastery Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please share it to someone who would use more time in their day. And remember to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, you are in control of your time and you've got this.
All right. Bye, everyone.